Hi everyone, Elisa with Jots Designs. In this video I wanted to test out some new colors I received and also make some little cabochons to use with some later projects. I'll be using liquid diamonds from the Epoxy resin store, and it's a 2-to-1 ratio resin that can be measured by weight or volume. I'll be doing just a small amount, and I like doing that typically by weight, so I'll be using a digital scale. I'll also be using some silicone cups from EcoArt Solutions to mix in. Check them out. They've got larger measuring cups with ounces and millimeter markings and various pouring cups. And another great product of theirs is the stick sleeves, so that you can use this over and over and then not have to use all the wooden sticks. I'll be using these little plastic makeup spatulas and spoons to mix and pour. I also grabbed some plastic tweezers just in case I need them, and I've got a couple metal scoops for any embellishments that I may use. I have a long lighter to pop any bubbles, and I like to make sure my mold is level before I start. When getting the resin ready, start with the hardener, since it's typically the thinner of the two, and since it's a 2-to-1 ratio resin, I will do 1 part of the hardener, and then I'll multiply that number by 2, and that's what I'm going to weigh out for the resin. You want to make sure you stir slowly so you don't create more bubbles, and using a plastic or silicone stir stick definitely helps as well. Be sure to scrape the sides and the bottom of your container as well as your stirring stick. So the new colors that I got are from Epoxy Candy, and I wanted to just basically try out the colors and see what they look like in resin. I've got Mulberry Bliss, Quin Violet, Tiffany Bling, and you can see that it's separated a bit, so you definitely want to make sure you shake these well before use. And they also include a push pin in case you do need to break through any dried seal on any of them. And then last but not least, I've got Coral Orange. And I'll also be using some alcohol inks. I grabbed the Piñato Blanco Blanco, which I've also added to this fine line applicator bottle for smaller drops. This is another one you definitely want to make sure you shake up before you use it. Same with any metallic such as this brass. And then I grabbed some pink and golden yellow as well. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to add to some of these, so I just grabbed one of my buckets of embellishments. And I did also want to fill up one of these heart bezels with the sea glass flake mix, and I got both of these from Hobby Lobby. And to start, I'm just going to pour some of the clear resin into a bunch of these different cavities. I had a couple projects in mind for the future, but really it's just kind of a test to see the colors and a couple other things as well. For those new colors, I'm just going to start by having some straight pigment out of the bottle, using a silicone brush and just dabbing a little bit of the color into the resin, swirling that around, and then I just dropped a drop of teal on there and swirled that around as well. For this one, 2 drops of the teal and the orange. For the teal, I'm going to add some of the Piñato White, and for the orange, I'm just going to actually kind of swirl that around with a stick and see what that does. And then for these hearts, I am doing basically a normal Petri with the pink, the orange, and the brass. With the metallics, they don't react the same in Petri style as the other colors do, but I do still add some of the Piñato White to it. And then I'm also going to add just a little bit of clear to that as well, just to make sure that does drop evenly and kind of spreads out just a little bit. For this next one, I am going to be using 3 different colors of broken shells, and I'm going to get those scooped in there and then mix those around evenly together. And then I'm going to let them sit for just a little bit. And then I realized I missed one of the epoxy colors, Epoxy Candy colors, so I added a couple drops of that and then swirled that around as well. All right, and for this next bit, I'm going to be using the heart-shaped bezel that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm just going to add a little bit of the clear to the bottom to make sure it's nice and coated, and then add some of the glass flake in there and get that spread around. Add some more resin and then some more of the glass flakes again. And this will be for a future project that I have planned out, and something will be on top of this, but I definitely wanted to see what this glass flake specifically look like in the enclosed bezel like this, and I think it's going to turn out great. And then I added some more of that glass flake on top of the shells, and by letting the shells sit for a little bit, it made sure that they did sink to the bottom of the resin, and that way the glass and the shells will still basically stay separated too. And then I'm just adding the rest of the clear resin that I had. Then I'm going to add some metal leafing. I think this was the copper one that I had grabbed. And just adding a little bit, letting it sit in the resin kind of in a floating state. That's why I made sure to save this towards the end. And then on top of it, I'm going to add some teal and Senorita magenta. Just a simple Petri style, but I wanted them to have kind of an ombre look. So putting the magenta on one side and the teal on the other, and then they'll blend nicely in the middle, or just in this small tiny cavity, they might just all end up mixing, but still, no matter what color comes out, will be great. But I think it'll look really good with the foil. And then I've just got some transparency film here, and I just bent it out of shape to have as a small cover for it so I don't get any hairs in the resin as it's curing. All right, so after those are cured, I'm mixing up just a little bit more resin, same as before. And with this one cavity that I left clear, I'm adding just a little bit more so that way I can add in these little metal cogs. And I got these from Hobby Lobby too, and I'm just going to take a bunch of them and using some tweezers, place them around in the resin and kind of line them up just whichever way they look good. Make sure that they're sitting in the resin flat so that way I don't get any bubbles. But by having that clear cured resin first, it'll give it kind of almost a magnified look to it by having that, basically you have a clear cabochon in front of the cogs too. With the rest of the resin, I'm going to make the kind of the back layer of some of these pieces. So I'm going to use some black and white, and this is the Flow Art Resin liquid pigments from the Epoxy resin store. So I'm just adding a little bit as I go to make sure that I have the right color of black and make sure that it's solid. And the white I've used quite a bit, so I knew how much I needed of that one. And I'm just spreading the black around on some of these and then adding the white on a couple others. And just making sure that I use as much as I can, popping any bubbles if there are any. And this one, again, like I said, I'm going to be using later down the road for another project, but I do think it turned out great. I love the color of this, of the glass flakes. And I just want to show you how easy it is to kind of peel off the cured resin if you forget to wipe them off when you're done. Not all plastics will do this, but there are definitely some, like polypropylene plastic, which is the number 5 recycle. If you look in the triangle on a lot of things, that'll have, you'll be able to pull resin out easily. Same with the silicone, it just pulls right on out. You can scrape off the little bits. I like to use a bucket of warm soapy water and pick all those little bits off, and then I'll let the water evaporate or I'll strain it out and then throw all the little resin bits away. And then after all of that is cured, I've gotten some more resin ready. All right, and for this next part, I'm gonna fill in the back side of the one with the cabs with some Sherwood sparkler from Dryer Days Art Studio. I've got a discount code down for that store in the description as well, so definitely check them out. And basically just added some glitter, added some of the clear resin, a little bit more of the glitter, and spread that all around, just making sure that everything was nice and covered the way that I wanted it to be. This will serve as the back of the piece if I leave it alone, but I'm thinking I might be embedding this one into some polymer clay down the road. So I made sure that that was all nice and topped off with some resin there. And then with the remainder of the clear resin that I have, I wanted to make some additional pieces to use for polymer clay in the future. And I'm just going to use some of the glass flakes and put that in these 3 little half sphere cavities and make sure that it's all distributed evenly and that there are no bubbles. If there are, I can just kind of pull them up to the surface if need be. And but I wanted to make sure that they were good and solid pieces. And then I'm just going to cover up all the uncured resin and make sure that they're nice and ready to go without any dust. And again, here is this piece already cured, but I love how this specifically turned out. It looks great. Forgot about that square cab. I can use that down the road though. But yeah, these little ones, I love how it turned out just in the resin by itself. And then here is the one with the little cogs in it, and I had a little bit of a tough time. Kind of got stuck to the mold there. I definitely used a little too much heat on the first layer of resin, but it still turned out great. I love how those cogs look kind of magnified in there, and you can't see the layers besides the fact that you know, just the separation of the cogs being in the center. You can't see the actual layers of resin themselves. And then here's the one, just kind of a test for the colors from Epoxy Candy. And I love how they turned out. They're very vibrant. I added a little bit too much for this for really to do anything, but definitely love those colors. Now on this one, I didn't have a problem with the teal, but what happened here is that it's not that the resin didn't cure, but basically the color dropped all the way down to the mold, and the resin cured around the color. So the color itself, I could basically wash it out of this and you wouldn't really see any of that orange left. That was just kind of a test to see what they would do, and it was a good test. And I love how this one turned out. I didn't use 2 separate layers of resin. I did just layer the glass on top of the shells, and it didn't sink in, so it turned out really great. And I love how these hearts turned out. That brass spread out nicely. These will make cute little earrings or pendants down the road. Haven't quite figured out exactly what I want to do, but by putting the black on the back side there, they are pretty much finished, ready to go. Just need to add some findings. And then with these, same thing, they could be some earrings. I'm thinking I might use these with polymer clay as well, but I love how the, I want to keep saying the glass foil, the gold leaf foil, but I think it's copper. I love how that's just floating there and how that looks with the Petrie behind it. All right, so here they all are. I hope you enjoyed this video and were able to learn something or be inspired in some way. Please let me know if you have any questions and leave me a comment just to say hi. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's links in the description to my Instagram and Facebook page, as well as for the products I used and some discount codes. See you guys in the next one. Bye.